All right. There we go. That's the show. Goodbye, everybody. Hey, what's up? Oh, YouTube is up. Hello, SML. Hello, Max Columbus. It's going. It's a Wednesday, right? All right, so we are going to start with the latest in Iran. A lot happening today. In fact, I'm not sure if you saw, but the United States is now releasing oil from its strategic reserve, something like 170 million barrels of oil, I think, right now. And the president was out at what looked kind of like I think he was talking about the economy, but he was out talking about how he sees things going. And he was asked before he went on stage whether or not, we were going to be tapping into the strategic reserve. He says we're going to tap into it, and then we are going to fill it back up. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with oil prices. But right now, the markets seem to be holding somewhat steady when it comes to the cost of a barrel, $87, I think, at last check. So we'll see. SML, you're watching the Champions Club? Cool. Well, let me ask you this. Anybody watching the baseball? All right. Let's do it. We doing it from here? Open? Yeah.
Open, position G.
Okay, position G. What's up, Hannah? Yeah, so anybody see what happened with Italy? Italy versus the United States? Italy smoked us. Soccer, SML. Apparently this is like the World Cup in soccer, but for baseball. So I know they say World Series and it gets very confusing because it's not really the World Series. But this is kind of like the real World Series. So Italy beat us. Italy. Because espresso, they have an espresso machine in the dugout. Like, we should get on that stat. That just seems like a no-brainer, right? So yeah, now Italy goes on to, they're going to play Mexico. And if Mexico wins, then we're out. The United States, like the place where it's America's favorite pastime, baseball. And then we're out of this thing? I don't know. Seems odd, right? Soccer stuff. All right, here we go. And TikTok's online. What's up, TikTok? All right, we're going to shoot this open real fast. Let me show you how it's done real quick. This is going to go at the top of the show. So we're going to record this right now, and then we're going to edit it in to the top. Thanks, Mike. All right, let's do it. Am I taking a step?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, but I'm going to start back a little bit and come into you.
Stand by. 3.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight President Trump already seeming to claim victory in the war with Iran.
4, 3.
This is the United States is going to tap into an emergency stockpile of petroleum to help the rising cost of oil due to the war. And as Iran steps up its strikes, hitting 3 ships near the Strait of Hormuz, plus the constant barrage of strikes producing toxic rain, what that's going to mean for the entire region. Then a deadly path of destruction in the Midwest after reported tornadoes tore through communities.
4, 3.
But the threat is not over, with millions still under the threat of, let's do it again. Still under, but it's not over. But it's not over. Double threat. But it's not over yet. something like that. Okay. Let me see if I can punch this up for you guys. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here, but let's see. Yeah, a lot of stop and go, but we're going to be going full send in just a second here. So, all right, we'll try it again. Ready?
Here we go. 4, 3.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight President Trump already seeming to claim victory in the war with Iran. Sure. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight President Trump already seeming to claim. Sorry, that was my bad now. All right. 111. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight President Trump already seeming to claim victory in the war with Iran.
We've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
This is the United States is going to be tapping into an emergency stockpile of petroleum to help the rising cost of oil because of the war. And as Iran steps up its strikes, hitting 3 ships now near the Strait of Hormuz. Plus, the constant barrage of strikes producing toxic rain, what that is going to mean for the entire region. Then a deadly path of destruction in the Midwest after reported tornadoes tore through communities.
If you're by a train and you feel it in your chest, that's how you felt it. It was that powerful that, and then you just hear all hell break loose.
But it is not over yet, with millions still at risk of severe storms tonight. We've got your forecast. Plus, would you trust AI with one of the biggest transactions of your life, like selling your house? Well, that's coming up in the future of everything. All right, that one work? Think so, I think so. Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. Yes, lots of stop and go. That's how it works. So usually that's the top part of the show. That's the first thing you're gonna see. So as soon as we start, I'll hit this little button right here. That'll be, that'll take the feed full. Let me see. I don't know if claim victory in the war. Look like this. And then house, well, that's coming up right now. Future of basically everything. Just making sure everything fits, everything works. A lot of kind of live to tape editing, and then we'll be off to the rest of the show. All of that happens in 5 minutes. So in 5 minutes, the show starts, and we're going to be leading off with Iran. We've got a report from Danielle Hamamdjian, who is in Beirut right now, and Beirut has been getting attacks throughout the day from the IDF and Israel. Israel is fighting this proxy war with Hezbollah in Beirut and across Lebanon, across the southern part of the country and the region the border it shares. And so Danielle has been doing some incredible reporting. In fact, she went to a hospital a little bit earlier today, and she was talking to doctors who are seeing the effects of Israel's attacks on Lebanon right now. Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of people in Lebanon are being forced to flee their homes. So there's another humanitarian crisis happening there. Then there's what's happening right now in Iran. They are lighting up ships in the Strait of Hormuz. I think 3 ships, 3 huge cargo ships were attacked today. And these are cargo ships. These are not, military ships. And you can see the traffic going through the Strait of Hormuz just come to a complete stop. A lot of the ships that were headed that way just turned around, and now everything's in this holding pattern. And there's concern that, not only drone strikes, but there may be mines in the water. According to those that are watching this, the United States, the president has been saying, Iran, if there are mines in the water, you should go get them. And that would be a step in the right direction. And then, as you heard in that open, the president was kind of, he was making some public appearances today, and he was talking about, like, hey, we've already won this thing. So we'll see what happens in the next few days. Miss Rachel, yes. I'm glad you watch. This is up. It's the best song in the world. DC Friday. Who's going to be on the Hill on Friday? Probably everybody. I'd guess Garrett, maybe Gabe. We'll see. Where do I send tips for NBC? I have one that is local, but it may be a big story. Heyday Jr. What city are you in? SML? I've never heard of that network before. I don't recognize those letters. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Let's see. All right, you guys want to see who's here? We got Big Mike.
What's up, chat?
What's up, chat? Robbie on the Ronin today. What? All right. So, should be an interesting day. These are the fellas in the studio. Then we got some more fellas in the control room. Then we got a whole bunch of heads out there in New York. If you guys are just tuning in and you're wondering what this is Stay Tuned Now. This is the pre-show. This is the fun chat just between us friends before the news actually starts. And the news is going to start on NBC News Now. If you're next to a television, you can always pull it up in the big screen and you could watch the show. It's not going to look like this. You're not going to see this me in the picture-in-picture watching along with you. That's just for us friends here on the stream. If you watch there, you'll see the show as it goes out to masses. But the cool thing about this little thing that we've got is that we can chat during the commercials. So we are able to have a two-way conversation as long as everybody is super nice and cordial. The world is full of enough strife. We don't need any strife in the chat. Let's just all get along. Oh, Hannah, don't worry. Welcome to the community. You'll see a bunch of people coming in here that watch every single day like this. So Dayton, Ohio. I would send it to, I forget what our affiliate is in Dayton. But yeah, send it to them and see what they think. But yeah, all news starts local, and local news is the most important news. Don't tell everybody here at the network. But, I came from Albuquerque, and local is the backbone of everything. Yes, it was. It's been I've dreamed of this like 6-7 years ago. So I'm glad we're able to experiment now. Guys, like 10 seconds until the show. Where are we starting? Over here?
Back here.
Okay. All right, here we go. This is going to be the first part, and then I'll keep up picture-in-picture for this. Ready? Let's go. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight President Trump already seeming to claim victory in the war with Iran.
We've won. You never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
This is the United States is going to be tapping into an emergency stockpile of petroleum to help the rising cost of oil because of the war. And as Iran steps up its strikes, hitting 3 ships now near the Strait of Hormuz. Plus, the constant barrage of strikes producing toxic rain, what that is going to mean for the entire region. Then a deadly path of destruction in the Midwest after reported tornadoes tore through communities.
If you're by a train and you feel it in your chest, that's how you felt it. It was that powerful and then you just hear all hell break loose.
But it is not over yet, with millions still at risk of severe storms tonight. We've got your forecast. Plus, would you trust AI with one of the biggest transactions of your life, like selling your house? Well, that's coming up in the future of everything. And tonight, another wave of strikes across the Middle East, adding to the toll in this war with Iran, estimated to cost about $11.3 billion. And that is just in the first 6 days, according to the Pentagon. Those numbers coming as Iran is stepping up efforts to choke off a fifth of the world's oil. And that news, along with images of tankers on fire, with reports that at least 3 ships have been hit today near the Strait of Hormuz. Iran taking responsibility for one of those attacks and continuing to cut off the world from a significant amount of oil and natural gas, sending shockwaves through the markets. The IEA, that is the International Energy Agency, they have agreed to release a record 400 million barrels of oil from their reserves, the largest ever in history. And now President Trump is saying that the United States is going to be tapping into our strategic reserves as well. We're going to break that down and what it means in just a few. But first, an FBI memo about the possibility of an Iranian drone strike on U.S. soil, specifically on the West Coast. That is making a lot of people nervous. But earlier, the president was asked about it.
Are you worried, sir, about a domestic terror attack led by Iran here, sir? No.
Now, to be clear, law enforcement officials right now are telling NBC News that there are currently no specific threats to the homeland and that the intel lacks credibility. All of this happening as the Iranian state media is saying it is their turn for a day of the most intense strikes, sending hypersonic missiles towards Tel Aviv and Haifa in Israel. And officials say a drone strike caused an explosion at an oil plant here in the port of Oman. Here is the moment it happened in Oman. Just another example of how Iran continues to target energy sites throughout the Gulf. These strikes causing more than just destruction. We're going to have a doctor to talk a little bit more about the health concerns that also come with the war. Meanwhile, Iran's armed forces are also warning people in the Middle East to stay away from U.S. and Israeli-owned banks, threatening to retaliate after a strike on a bank in Tehran. Now, Israel's military is also doubling down on fighting both in Iran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The IDF telling people there to leave their homes in some Lebanese communities, and that has led to another humanitarian crisis. And let's get out to NBC's Danielle Hamamdjian, who is in Beirut. Danielle, it seems like right now all eyes are on what's happening next in the Strait of Hormuz. We saw those attacks on the ships earlier. What's the latest there right now?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's day 12 of this war, and things are still moving at dizzying speed, not only here in Lebanon, but in Iran. And as you just mentioned, this new battleground in the Strait of Hormuz, where shipping is down 97%, according to the UN. Now, the U.S. says that they have eliminated 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels. Trump later saying that that number is now up to 28. Of course, there are no ways to independently verify that. I just have to address this loud boom that you've just heard behind me. Israel is conducting a very large wave of strikes this evening. This is some of the bigger ones that we've heard. We've also heard not long ago fighter jets, Israeli jets flying above us, as well as drones. I'm just taking a look at the television behind the camera to see what exactly is going on. But that is the second one in the past 5 minutes or so, Gadi. So we'll keep you posted if we find out and we learn more on those strikes. But as I was saying about the Strait of Hormuz, Trump is warning that any mines being laid there need to be removed. Remember, Iran's strategy now is to make this as costly as possible on as many countries as possible in order for them to put pressure on Donald Trump to de-escalate. So far, that hasn't worked. You mentioned those ships that were attacked today. This is according to the UK Maritime Agency. 3 vessels that were attacked by unknown projectiles. That's a total of 13 so far since the war began. Trump's also saying that companies should be traveling through the Strait of Hormuz, and that the Pentagon is looking at ways to escort them safely through this stretch of water that is, remember, only 2 nautical miles wide, which makes it very difficult to defend. And a warning, by the way, by Iran today that the world should get ready for $200 a barrel of oil. Gadi.
That's happening 1,000 miles away from you are, and it really underscores how wide this conflict is. The Strait of Hormuz, we just heard those explosions happening behind you. Israel is continuing to push, or at least attack parts of Lebanon, as we have heard here. I know you spent some time in a hospital earlier today. What are some of the effects that you're seeing there in Lebanon?
Yeah, you know, we're talking about the price of oil, as I just mentioned, but there is a human cost to this. Here in Lebanon, it is a tiny country, 600,000, no, close to 800,000 now people displaced in a country of just 6 million people. You know, those strikes are being conducted in an area that is called Adahya. Last week, there were mass evacuations orders made by the IDF, and so hundreds of thousands of people have now left the area. We've seen non-stop strikes today and this evening, people now sheltering in churches, schools, stadium, but we're also seeing targeted strikes on specific individuals, Hezbollah, IRGC, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps commanders throughout the city, in central Beirut too, which is really triggering a sense of panic amongst people. More than 600 people have now been killed, many of them children. And in fact, during the first week of the war, Gadi, at least 10 children a day were being killed. We were given access to a hospital today where we saw up close the impact on the youngest, on the most vulnerable, a 4-year-old girl with shrapnel wounds to her face, for example. She was being held by her grandmother, who lost her daughter as she was trying to shield her granddaughter. And this is a hospital that is also treating children from Gaza who came here for reconstructive surgery and who are once again being exposed to Israeli strikes not far from that hospital. Take a listen to the doctor who's been treating those kids.
You need to be continuously outraged at the sight of a 4-year-old whose body's been ripped to pieces. You need to be outraged when a child tells you that she was sitting on her mom's lap when her mom was killed. That moral outrage is what keeps us human and what differentiates us from those who do the killing and order the killing.
And government officials warning here that the death toll is quickly rising, Gadi.
Again, this is a proxy war within the war that you're describing right now. That's the IDF versus Hezbollah in Beirut and in parts of Lebanon. And yet Iran was saying that, I mean, yesterday it was the United States was going to issue the worst attacks that we've seen so far during this conflict. Today, Iran threatened the same. Did we see that carried out?
Don't think it really played out that way. Might have been a bit more bluster than anything else. Qatar saying that that Iran launched 9 ballistic missiles at its territory. Most of them were intercepted. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain also reporting attacks. Some oil tankers in Oman also attacked. As Iran says that it's now completed its 40th wave of attacks against Israel. I should mention that the president of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, saying today that reparations must be paid to Iran, that there must be guarantees in place to prevent future aggressions in order to end this war. Remember that Donald Trump has asked for unconditional surrender, something flatly rejected by the Iranian regime. Back to you.
Yeah, the Iranians asking for reparations, the president saying total surrender. Quite the gap there. Danielle Hamemdjian out there in Lebanon. Thank you so much. And let's bring in political science professor at the University of Chicago, Robert Pape, and author of the Substack, The Escalation Trap. Thanks so much for being with us, Professor. So much of what we are seeing play out here reminds us of what you call the escalation trap. Is the United States trapped in an only escalation sort of pattern right now, or do you see some off-ramps here?
We are getting deeper into an escalation trap that's very particular to smart bombs. Stage 1 of the escalation trap in the precision age is the smart bombs are tactically effective. We had near 100% success with our opening salvo, killed the leader, killed other leaders. And what that opening success does in the modern age, that tactical near 100% success, is it creates the illusion of control control of escalation from that point on. And you'll recall that in the opening days, President Trump was talking about all the off ramps he had. He could do this, he could do that. Well, in the escalation trap, what he missed is the worst case. And that worst case is the enemy lashes back. And what's happened, Iran was not beaten to a pulp ahead of time. Iran was laying in wait and retaliated and lashed back with horizontal escalation, essentially a precision drone campaign that has gone on for 11 full days. And this was not something we anticipated. Now, the Straits of Hormuz are shutting down. This is creating an oil crisis so bad, we're trying to turn on the spigots of our reserves. That's only going to last for a few weeks. This really is. We are now caught in the escalation trap. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, I think. I mean, oil has not been listed in those 4 objectives that we hear laid out time and time again from the Pentagon and the White House, but oil affects nearly everything of our modern society. When we consider the long-term effects here, let's say best case scenario, the oil markets are reshuffled, not just with Iran. We've already seen them reshuffled with Venezuela, right? If this does end up, and again, let's just be, optimists here. Hopefully, things end sometime soon. But if this does end with Iranian oil now traded in dollars in the future through what the White House is hoping are American intermediaries, like they've already got established in Venezuela, what does that do to the question of the future of petrodollars? Where does that put everything?
Well, I have studied economic sanctions for 30 years, air power almost side by side with that for 30 years. And I don't think any of these rosy scenarios here, this Maduro, I don't think any of that is really coming here. What we have right now is we're turning on the spigots of our oil reserves. We have about 20 days supply of oil reserves here, and that equals, we use about as much oil in the United States as the Straits, as passed through the Straits on a given day, just to put this in some perspective. So it doesn't mean that after 20 days we're going to run out of oil, but the prices, oh my goodness gracious, we can try to keep this down for a few days, but what's going to happen over time is that horizontal escalation I'm describing is going to hit home, and gas prices already up rather tremendously, as we're not used to seeing these prices go up. This is the highest since the pandemic. But what's going to happen over the next week or two is those could go up much, much further. And now you have precision air attack by Iran. Now you have their economic pressure going side by side. This could well start to break the coalition that we've built against Iran. So we are in an escalation trap where escalation favors the Iranians here. That's why it's so important to understand the stages of the escalation. This isn't just happening randomly, and these are the frameworks I try to put on the Substack so that people can really understand that there is a process to the escalation. It's not just spasmodically happening, and that's why it's the more you know about those frameworks, the more you can anticipate. And I'm sorry to say, this is not heading in America's direction, and no matter how much victory narrative Donald Trump gives, there's escalation reality that is right in front of us as we speak.
Yeah, it very much seems like, any sort of decisive, unconditional victory, you've got to escalate further and further and further. And that's exactly what it seems as though Iran wants.
This is the down part. Yeah. This is the downside of the middle of the escalation trap, where when that tactical success does not lead to strategic victory, that stronger power doubles down. Then you get even worse outcomes. So now you get the idea, well, should he give up? Should he keep going? You see the waffling. But here we're in the middle of this escalation trap where Iran has seen this movie before. We have killed their negotiators twice now, saying we want to negotiate them. We've now killed the supreme leader. We have injected a harder regime into Iran. This is the normal failure of smart bombs. When Reagan bombed Gaddafi's tent in 1986, the regime did not collapse. We killed his daughter, we killed his family, and what did he do? He brought down Pan Am Flight 103, killing 271 civilians, 190 Americans. That was his lashing back. We've seen this movie before. I lay these out. I go through these historical cases. There's not a single case in history where air power has toppled a regime.
And real fast, you know, and again, I hate to, I'm not trying to push back at all, but trying to figure out, you know, what a potential end could be in the best of circumstances, which obviously we don't find ourselves in. But let's say the president does decide, hey, you know, we've already heard it somewhat telegraphed. I'm not sure if he's couching something or you know, this is just what he's saying to the public. But, okay, this is victory. We are taking the win right now, and we're pulling out. Just given everything that we've seen so far, what happens then?
The first thing the president would have to do is clamp down on Israel. So Israel is the one who actually killed the supreme leader. Last June, Israel is the one who started the 12-day war. So Iran has seen this movie before. So Donald Trump can say he wants to stop it. But is he willing to tell Netanyahu, you do this again, we'll cut you off for 4 years? We're going to do so. And how will you actually then deal with the dispersed enriched uranium that is still there? This has all been about enriched uranium. How are you going to deal with that? You have now hardened, you've created a more radical regime. This regime is more likely to develop nuclear weapons than the last one. They have the enriched material. We're now just going to walk away and say, yeah, we hope you don't do anything with that enriched material after we've killed 50 of your leaders and we've been through this bombing now twice in 8 months. This is, how's he going to put that, how's he going to persuade Iran that not to do it? What's he really going to offer them? I think this is really the escalation trap at its worst. We may not be anywhere close to the most dangerous moment in this crisis. The most dangerous moments here are going to come when we run out of targets for real, and you hear Donald Trump saying, well, all the good targets are getting gone. And then what do we do about that enriched uranium? Probably we don't have any good option.
Escalation all around. Professor, really appreciate you taking the time for us. Thank you. And parts of the sky over the Middle East have turned toxic, but this is not the first time. The burning oil, the black clouds, and now the toxic rain. Some of that is reminiscent of the last time a war set the region's oil fields on fire.
When the sky becomes part of the battlefield, the images are harrowing. Towers of fire erupting over Iran, a blanket of black smoke obscuring night and day. Iranian officials warning people of the toxic substance in the air and on the ground as video shows cars coated in oily film and reports of black rain falling from the sky. Thick smoke also rising in Bahrain, where Iran hit the country's only oil refinery. Some of those images bringing to mind the oil infernos of the Gulf War, when retreating Iraqi forces under Saddam Hussein set fire to over 700 oil wells in Kuwait. Around 6 million barrels of oil burned every day, and some gushing onto the ground.
So much devastation all around. Where do you start?
Poisoning soil, contaminating the water supply, and killing wildlife. Smoke plumes so massive they could be seen from space, carrying sulfuric acids and other toxic chemicals into the atmosphere and into people's lungs. Respiratory problems reported among Kuwaiti civilians and American troops. It took an international team nearly 10 months and billions of dollars to extinguish the fires.
It looks easy to people that were doing it. It isn't.
And the full scope of the health effects is still unknown.
And let's bring in NBC News medical contributor, Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, thanks so much for joining us. We understand that what's developing right now in the Middle East and what we just saw, those archived videos of what happened in Kuwait, so far they are different, right? But what are the key differences? And then what are the similarities that we're seeing?
Yeah, great question, Scotty. So what we're seeing right now is different in that it's a series of big, as you've been hearing all night, but more localized hits on refineries and depots. So much closer to cities and much smaller in that scale than we were just seeing in images in Kuwait in 1991. But if you're any of the people, any of those persons underneath that smoke, that health threat is very real. And that's where it gets, unfortunately, very similar. Everything you just mentioned with those fine particles, hydrocarbons, sulfur, nitrogen gases, everything that we say that we describe as smoke and black rain, that's exactly what we're seeing right now. Those plumes, those fires that we're seeing active now can turn dark, oily. Those gases can get more acidic and irritating. Short term, we're already seeing and hearing doctors and health professionals talk about burning eyes, throats, wheezing, coughs, headaches, skin irritation. And then unfortunately, with what we know from Kuwait, that's going to last a lot longer. Even if everything were to stop now, the devastating effects will go on for years to come.
How dangerous are those toxic plumes? I mean, you were describing irritated eyes, obviously some respiratory issues, but a big concern for people is what happens, 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah, and again, unfortunately, it's not just Kuwait and what we saw in 1991. We've had experiences across the globe, but also in the United States, even with local refineries and being able to understand what happens to a population. We know that chronic lung problems and other chronic diseases get exacerbated over years. We know there's a higher incidence of cancers. We're still even unpacking just what we know from even 9/11 and firefighters and different kind of manifestations of not just lung disease, but all over the body. So there are things that when I was in medical school we didn't have in the textbook that now we do because we understand decades later what's happened. So I do anticipate that similar, just the amount of carcinogens and toxins that get released from these fires and from that burning is just something that I can't state more. There's no description. I would describe, someone asked me, what is this like? I said, imagine trying to run behind a diesel truck that has that black exhaust. We've all been caught behind that truck for a moment. Imagine being behind that for days and days and days and being asked to walk outside like that. That's what we're seeing, and that's what I anticipate we'll continue to see.
How do you see this affecting health in the future there?
Yeah, it's people like to think about these things as being local, but if one thing that COVID has taught us is that nothing is truly local, right? We're incredibly global. And so this means that not just people traveling in transport, but it just means that we're actually a pretty small population when you think about how much we can affect each other. And so climate patterns, we didn't even get a chance to talk about that, but we know that climate patterns shift when you have something on even smaller scale, but especially with what we saw in Kuwait, that can have an effect even here in the United States with the kinds of insects and the way that we see kind of manifestations of bacteria in the ground. And then on a very individual level, we know that if you have an incredible population, let's say thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands who might be exposed over time, no matter what that size is, we know that that's going to have generational effects, and that, again, we're one population. So I suspect that this toxic mix is something that we're going to see more literature, more research, and we'll start to see even implications for how we can recognize these symptoms when we see individuals coming to and from these countries. Let's not forget how many, not only Americans, but how many family members of Americans are in these locations. So there's a lot to be said about what can happen in the near future, and I think years from now. My only advice, if anybody has any loved ones there, is just to make sure that they get attention from a healthcare professional whenever possible. And I want to remind something basic. Masks, I've been in these environments. N95 masks, when they're fitted, they do work, because that's actually what we use to keep out those toxins and particles. And so I think some of the basics that we had to remind ourselves during COVID can actually help us, and during the wildfires in California can help us here.
Dr. Kavita Patel, always appreciate your expertise. Thank you. Meanwhile, we are learning more details about that deadly missile strike on an elementary school in Iran that killed more than 170 people, mostly children. Tonight, several sources familiar with the military's internal investigation tell NBC News that outdated intelligence was likely at the root of it. NBC News senior national correspondent Courtney Cubie has the very latest. Courtney.
Gadi, an ongoing U.S. military investigation into a strike on a school in southern Iran has not only now found that the U.S. was likely responsible for that strike, according to the preliminary findings, but now it appears as if bad or old intelligence may have been to blame for the faulty targeting. Now, that is according to 4 individuals who are familiar with that preliminary evidence. Of course, I have to say this remains under investigation, but these are the findings so far. We know now that this missile appears to be a Tomahawk and that the U.S. military was operating in that sector or in that area at the time when that school was hit. But again, as this investigation goes on, it has not only looked increasingly like the U.S. was behind that, but that they may have used old intelligence. Now, the school was on the site of an old Iranian military facility. And in fact, there was a current Iranian military facility not too far from it. But at this point, according to the sources familiar with the preliminary information, they say that it appears that the target or the missile actually hit the actual target where it was supposed to hit. It's not that it went off course or something, but that the intelligence showed that that was a legitimate and validated target. The Defense Intelligence Agency was involved in validating that target, gathering information from multiple agencies and locations, including U.S. allies like the Israelis. But then they found the target was validated. It's supposed to go through another process then, Gadi. They're supposed to have other agencies look at it, make sure that the target is accurate, that they are going after the correct location before the target is approved and the strike is carried out. At this point, this investigation, which again is ongoing, is likely looking at exactly how this happened and how that process somehow broke down that led to the bombing of that school. At this point, more than 170 individuals were killed in that attack, more than 100 others wounded. Most of them were children. Gadi?
I'm Courtney Cuby. Thank you so much. And here at home, top of mind is how the war in Iran is causing gas prices at the pump to surge. Today, during a visit to the Midwest, the president shared how he'd try to get those gas prices a little bit lower by tapping into what's known as the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which he said right before taking the stage in Kentucky.
We'll do that, and then we'll fill it up. I filled it up once, and I'll fill it up again, but right now we'll reduce it a little bit, and that brings the prices down. We've won. You know, you never like to say too early you won. We won. We won the bet. In the first hour, it was over.
Let's get over to NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake at the White House. Garrett, I remember in the past when talk of war and strikes were usually special addresses from the Oval Office or briefings from the Pentagon. A lot of this appears to have taken on more of like a campaign trail kind of tone. What else is the president saying here?
Yeah, the response publicly has been a little bit ad hoc from the start, although we have seen more regular Pentagon briefings, something that hasn't happened at all in this second Trump term until this moment. I think the president's public commentary has mostly focused on the military objectives, not the political objectives that are in place here, something that's been frustrating to me as I've tried to ask him about it. And he's really used his engagements with the media like today, mostly to boast about what he sees as the military successes that are being achieved on the ground and in the skies over Iran, like this moment.
Over the past 11 days, our military has virtually destroyed Iran. Their air force is gone, totally gone. They no longer have radar. They don't have anti-aircraft equipment. They don't have anything. Their missiles are down 90%. Their drones are down 85%. We're blowing up the factories where they're made left and right. And frankly, nobody has ever seen anything like it.
To hear the president describe it there, it sounds like a conflict that we're very much winning if we haven't already won. That's the way the president's been describing it. And I think that's important as we consider that it's the president himself, basically unilaterally, who will decide when this conflict is over from the American perspective. As his former defense secretary, Jim Mattis, likes to say, the enemy gets a vote during wartime, too. But the president has made it pretty clear he'll be the only one who decides when we stop this operation, whatever it is, going forward.
And Garrett, it's an interesting choice of locations where he was today, given his longstanding feud with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie, right? Well, was that a coincidence or was that the point?
There are no coincidences in presidential politics, Scotty. I think it is very much the point. We heard from Massey's primary opponent. We heard from the president talking up Massey's primary opponent. You see him there. And you heard the president going after a Republican who has really been a thorn in his side over a series of issues in the last year. Look, the president of the White House gets to choose where he delivers the kind of messages that he wants to go out and deliver. They know he's going to get national coverage anywhere, but the kind of local firepower you can bring to bear on one heretical House Republican, as the White House sees him, by having the president drop into his district is not something to be trifled with. The president was sending a message, and I'm quite certain Thomas Massey received it.
Yeah, and I know we've been talking about polling on the war for a bit now, but there's polling, and then there is the pulse from the ultimate podcaster,
Right.
Joe Rogan, who backed Trump in 2024. Here's what Joe Rogan's saying right now.
This is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
Is Trump concerned about some of the wobbling support from some very, very influential voices, or just how Main Street is feeling about this?
Yeah, look, if he's not, he probably should be, Gadia. The president was asked about this the other day, suggested that he's spoken to Rogan fairly recently. I mean, Joe Rogan was such a key validator for the president, not with traditional Republicans, not with MAGA folks, but for the kind of politically disengaged voters who became a key part of the president's coalition. Those voters are especially important and especially hard to attract in a midterm where Trump's not on the ballot, engagement's a little bit lower generally than it is during a presidential election. If those folks are listening to Joe Rogan and they're becoming disenchanted in the same way that he is with the president, it's not even that they'll turn out and vote against the president's candidates. They just may not turn out and vote at all. And that's a net loss for the president and his party, who counted on that kind of podcast circuit to buoy them in 2024. If they can't count on them in 2026 or 2028, that's a big problem politically.
I mean, you know, just anecdotally speaking here, podcasts are huge with people that are serving overseas. All of the buddies that I have that are in the military, they listen religiously to Joe Rogan, and people like Sean Ryan, and those podcasters are so meaningful to the people that have a lot of time on their hands, and they are defending our country right now. So we'll see how all this goes. NBC's Garrett Hake, thanks so much, man. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, millions at risk for another round of severe storms after a deadly day of tornadoes in the Midwest. Maggie Vespa is on the ground in Indiana with a look at the aftermath. Plus, an axe-wielding man taken down by employees at a car wash. The whole thing caught on surveillance video. More on that, so stay tuned.
2 minutes to see reverse.
2 minutes, see reverse. All right. Okay, what's up, chat? Let's see. What have you guys been up to? As an American, I don't mind spending a little more on gas. What kind of car do you have? I hear you. Chris. Interesting. What else? What else? We're cooked. No, we're not. Maybe things will work out. Don't say that, please. I've got kids. Let's see. Massey is a patriot. I see your point there and understand your perspective. How the F are they planting bombs in the Strait of Hormuz? We don't know that they are, but if they are,
1 minute.
we think that they may be mines. At least that's some of the concern. They have some pretty extensive mine-laying capability that the president says has been taken out, but we don't know if that's true or not. No, we're not, Sky. No, we're not. Yeah. Once in a while. I haven't done that in a little while. Gas prices. Oh, I'm in Texas. Okay. See, I'm in California, and diesel's like $6 a gallon here. Let's see. Oh, what's up, Melly?
30.
Bill Cairns? Okay, got it. We still have the aftermath stuff, right? Okay. Wow, Scotland in the house. Scotland. Tell us what your take is on all this stuff. Yeah, they sure do.
10.
Okay, here we go.
4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we are watching tonight. Inflation, it seemed to hold steady in February, 2.4% according to new consumer price index data released today. But the data was collected before the U.S. attacked Iran late last month. And that conflict is already driving up energy costs, which experts expect to impact the reports in the coming months. And today, an LA grand jury ordered rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, to pay $140,000 as part of a lawsuit filed by a project manager over renovations at his Malibu mansion. Now, in addition to the $140,000, Ye is also going to have to pay his former contractor's attorney's fees, which are reported to be over $1 million. And a Florida man is in jail tonight after deputies say he threatened workers at a car wash with an axe. You see it going down on video there. Police say the 36-year-old got mad with workers when the car wash turned him away at closing time. Well, one of those workers, he was able to tackle him, get him down on the ground, get that axe away from him, and then hold him there until cops got there. That guy is now facing aggravated assault charges. And the iconic Pulse nightclub sign was taken down today, marking an emotional moment for survivors and the Orlando community. Crews completed the demolition of the site where 49 people were killed in the 2016 mass shooting targeting the LGBTQ+ community. The sign is going to be preserved for use in a permanent memorial being built there. And Bam Adebayo of Miami Heat scored a whopping 83 points in last night's game, which the Heat won, surpassing Kobe Bryant's 81-point game for the second highest single game total in NBA history. But the record still belongs to the NBA great, Wilt Chamberlain, who scored 100 points in a single game. That happened way back in 1962. Meanwhile, millions of people are bracing for more severe storms tonight, just a day after tornadoes ripped across the Midwest, killing at least 2 people. You can see some of the damage here. NBC's Maggie Vespa has more from Indiana.
Tonight, jaw-dropping video of this monster tornado barreling across an Illinois highway. Part of a deadly tornado outbreak.
Tornado down. It's on the ground.
That ravaged America's midsection overnight, ripping down power lines. Watch again as this power line appears to spark. And just seconds later, here you can see hail pummeling parts of Illinois. This photo proves some pieces as big as a baseball. These cars left smashed and dented with windows blown out. At least 17 reported twisters carving a devastating trail from Texas through Illinois to Indiana, where drone video in the small community of Lake Village shows home after home completely destroyed.
I just wanted to hold on to my mom. It was scary.
What was going through your mind?
Just keep my mom right by me.
Mia Wachter and her family huddled in their cinder block laundry room as a massive twister raced toward them.
It looked like black dirt just spinning.
Now, much of their home and the neighborhood around them gone.
It's just the only place it's ever felt like a home. And it's just weird to see it all now. I don't recognize it.
Authorities say at least 10 people across multiple states were injured and 2 killed. Family confirming Ed and Arlene Kozlowski died when a reported tornado hit their home. The couple married more than 60 years. Tonight, their memories and the memories of so many others in pieces.
Maggie Vespa, thank you so much. Just a reminder of the power of Mother Nature. And the superintendent of the Los Angeles Unified School District, he broke his silence this week after the FBI raided his home and office 2 weeks ago. We still don't know the exact nature of the investigation, but in a statement to NBC News, lawyers for Alberto Carvalho say he is innocent, writing, quote, "No evidence has been presented that suggests he violated federal law, and we hope the school board reinstates him promptly to his position as superintendent." Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Camila Bernal. So Camila, he broke his silence. But what's changed here, and where does the investigation stand right now?
So it's really unclear because the FBI's search warrant has been under seal. So we'll never really know until he's either charged or maybe they never unseal it, and we never really know what happens here. But we do know that one of the houses they raided is tied to this AI company that had this chatbot, and they had this $6 million with LAUSD. And the superintendent talked about it in a good way. They had, according to the NBC affiliate here in Los Angeles, had paid already $3 million for this AI chatbot. And this company went bankrupt. The CEO of this company is under a federal indictment. This is a criminal case. So it could be tied to all of this, but we really won't know until the FBI unseals all of these documents. And to be fair, sometimes a search warrant doesn't lead to anything. So maybe they're searching his house and his office and nothing comes of it. But maybe it is tied to this AI company, and we'll see exactly how or if they charge him in relation to this AI company.
Yeah, I walked into my daughter's elementary school today. Carvalho's picture is up there.
Everybody loves it.
Yeah, if he's not the superintendent right now, like who's in charge of the district?
So two things. He is on administrative leave. He's getting paid. He just signed a new contract that would expire in 2030. He's making $440,000 a year. So this is, again, someone that is really loved here and in his last school district in Miami. They love him as well. But they now have another superintendent, sort of an interim person. His name is Andres Chait. He's also an immigrant. He's from Chile. He's already promised to continue to be very outspoken and essentially be very protective of the immigrant students here in this community. He's really built a career at LAUSD, started from a kindergarten teacher to a principal, and built his career at LAUSD, his administrative career. So he's sort of there for now. You know, the school district is saying, we're going to cooperate with the investigation. He has the last superintendent, or the one on leave, Carvalho, he has the right to defend himself, but for now, this is the person that we have in place, and we'll see what happens with all of this.
Yeah, we sure will. Thank you so very much, Camila. And coming up, an NBC News exclusive is digging into an alarming recall over glucose monitors and the potentially life-threatening consequences when they don't work like they should. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back. Yeah, anytime. All right. She's in town. Look at this. I know. Yeah, that's what the war does. Anytime there's craziness going on, yeah, it's like the crazy stories you got to put on.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Let's see. Yeah, that's a lot. I know. Superintendent, though, I don't know if I'd want that job. That's a lot of parents. And I'm one of those parents, and I am difficult. Let's see. What's up, Tina, by the way? Great to see you. We missed you. Peaches. Okay. Yeah, I need to... when did that happen? Did that already happen? I think that already happened, right? Or no? Living my best life. Who's tampering with the weather? Let's see. Oh, what's up, Tiff? How's it going, 505? Not as much as I miss you guys. SML, no spamming. Yeah.
30 back.
Anybody spamming the chat, the filters, it automatically just gets muted. So let's just elevated discourse. Please? That's what I'm hoping for. I don't know if that's going to happen. But sometimes it does. And when it does, it's the best.
4, 3.
And now to an NBC News exclusive. Millions of people use glucose monitors to make sure their blood sugar level is exactly where it should be. But what if the device you rely on to keep you healthy keeps failing? NBC's Ann Thompson has that story.
Abbott's Freestyle Libre 3 glucose monitors offer diabetics painless readings. Blood sugar levels taken not with a finger prick, but a sensor on the arm. The readings sent to a monitor or cell phone. For Devontae Ford, a licensed caregiver, it was a valuable tool attending to his dad, Michael, bedbound by diabetes.
What are your memories of him dealing with diabetes?
Always like the finger prick. You know, that was something I always seen him do.
So diabetes was just part of his life?
It was something that his mother, grandmother, so something that ran in the family as well. So that was something that he already knew how to manage.
And since 2024, managed with the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus.
Ultimately, he was heavily reliant on it.
But Devontae says it failed last November 16th.
What happened that morning?
So in that morning, the blood sugar is always pretty low.
Devontae gave him sweetened coffee as usual, but the monitor readings stayed low.
So more coffee, a little bit more sugar, and it started to creep up a little bit.
Only Devontae says to fall again.
I thought something was pretty strange with that.
He says no amount of carbohydrates could get his dad's blood sugar to stay elevated.
I noticed that he was speaking really softly, and then I ended up calling 911 anyway.
By the time the paramedics arrived, Devontae's dad was unresponsive.
He had ended up coding, so he had a cardiac arrest, and he couldn't breathe on his own at that point, so they had to do CPR to him. And then when they had told me the blood sugar level, they said it was 551.
5 times higher than what it should have been, and 8 times higher, Devontae says, than what the monitor showed. Michael never regained consciousness and died the next day, November 17th, at the hospital. 7 days later, Abbott announced an international recall for the Freestyle Libre 3 and Libre 3 Plus sensors for incorrect low readings. As of January 7th, the company has reported 860 serious injuries and 7 deaths.
How did you find out that the monitor was being recalled?
So my mom, she went on her computer and she said a notification popped up, and she said before she even actually clicked on it, she just knew, because we already knew that something was wrong with it, and it felt like divine intervention.
Devontae is now suing Abbott. The company has not yet responded to the lawsuit, but in a statement to NBC News, Abbott says, "We are deeply saddened by this situation. We are committed to the safety and quality of our products. We take all adverse event reports seriously. Each situation is thoroughly documented, investigated, and shared with regulatory authorities as required." Dr. Melanie J. works with diabetics as the director of NYU Langone's obesity research program.
Should patients rely on these monitors?
I think these monitors are a great tool, but as with any medical device or any tool, there can be malfunctions and there can be ways that they're not used properly. And so it's just not to blindly rely on them.
Devontae says he never noticed a problem before that morning in November.
We just never had a scare ever, and this was the first one and the last ones.
Now he can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah, understandable. Ann Thompson, thank you so much. And coming up in the future of everything, a man sells his house in just days, and all he did was ask an AI chatbot for help. That story coming up.
2 minutes. C reverse.
2 minutes. All right, we got 2 minutes, chat. Man, that was alarming. What's up, Kat? Hey, great to see you. Yeah, Peaches. I've seen a lot of the AI, like the fake news AI bots, and they are pretty terrifying. And then you see people going off in the comments, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So yeah, be skeptical of all news, including this one. You can totally be skeptical right here in the chat. We welcome it. It is part of being a critical thinker. Audio is delayed. Yeah, audio is delayed. It's not going to be perfect here just because we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. We are streaming. We're streaming on top of a stream. So the show, technically, NBC News Now, that's our streaming service. And so that goes out to your TVs, goes out all over the world, and that's where the main audience is. And then I got my little secret thing right here. That's us. And it's hard to marry all those things. Also, this is my iPad, by the way. This right here, this is the iPad. We've just kind of hacked into the iPad camera. So sometimes you'll see me like this. And when you do, it's because I'm watching the return of the show on the iPad. And then if you see me over here, that means that I am reading the comments. So, Halamuth.
30.
Hopefully you watch more, because we try really hard to give you the news every single day. If I could take my show on the road, I do take it on the road sometimes, and I would love to do that even more. I am an iPad kid. Yes. My kids are not, but I am, for sure. Kat, thanks. What's our time back?
10.
10 seconds. All right, 10 seconds, and then we're going to talk about this story. It's wild. Here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. In the future of everything tonight, these days people are using AI for just about everything you can think of, right? Writing simple emails, planning that next family vacation. But now a Florida man says it helped him do something even bigger, helped him sell his house. Chris Anderson from our South Florida station has that story.
So this is the house. We're really going to miss it.
After 15 years in his Cooper City home, Robert Levine decided it was finally time to sell. But instead of contacting a real estate agent, he turned to the power of the prompt. ChatGPT.
I really wanted to challenge myself to use AI for the entire journey. Not just piecemeal, every step along the way.
The married father of 3 says he used artificial intelligence for everything. The planning, the pricing, the marketing, even the paint.
We repainted a couple of rooms in the house because ChatGPT said that's where you're going to get the biggest return on investment. The most important thing it did for us was build out a timeline. Here's when you need to start packing your house.
ChatGPT helped Robert design the marketing materials like his open house handout and the online listing, then told him how to get his home listed on the MLS, the multiple listing service, scheduled his showings, and suggested the best day to list his home.
We ended up listing on a Tuesday.
Turned out to be terrific timing.
And I think within the first 72 hours, we had 5 offers on the home already, which was tremendous.
The Levines still held the open house scheduled for that following Saturday, but by Sunday morning, 5 days after listing their home, they had a signed contract. A contract generated by, you guessed it, ChatGPT.
It's exceeded our expectations.
Robert did hire a lawyer to review the contract and other legal documents, but other than that, his AI assistant did all the heavy lifting. So why did he do it? One of his biggest motivations was saving money.
We estimate that leveraging these AI tools will save us about 3% of the total sale price, which in our case is a meaningful amount of money.
Robert stresses that every case is different, and AI isn't going to replace realtors, but it is a part of our evolving world, including real estate.
The impact they make is very real. And some folks maybe aren't prepared to do that themselves, but the more you use AI, the more confident you'll become in leveraging those tools.
Wow, brave new world. Chris Anderson, thank you so much. Coming up, Team USA they're on the brink of being eliminated from an actual World Series. We're going to explain there. But first, you got to see this. There's this large eruption from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano that sent lava soaring up to 1,000 feet into the air. That's about the same height as the top floor of the Empire State Building. The fountain of lava lasted about 9 hours, leaving nearby areas covered in ash, which led to a warning for people in the area to stay inside, close your doors, and close those windows. All right. Let's see. Oh, thanks, Hannah. Yes, we'll do it tomorrow. And I think the next day. Wait, Thursday, Friday? Yes, we'll be doing it. Thanks so much, Todd. Okay. Unfortunately, that is the show for tonight. I know it's only 5:54 here on the West Coast. We have another story popping up here. It's the one that we just teased. But we still have some technical hurdles to jump. And that is like marrying anything that we recorded previously. So if you want to watch it, just watch NBC News Now. You could go to YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, just go over to the actual NBC News Now main account, then click live, and then it'll play there for some reason. Or you just turn it on your TV. Let's see. Hi from Twitch. What? Wait, we got Twitch working? No way. Blood to Bleed 13, Twitch? We got, dude, this is great. All right, we're streaming on Twitch now. This is fantastic. Audio is delayed. We're gonna work on that. Melly, I remember you from Snapchat News. Aw, thanks, 550, daylight saving, yep. Behind the scenes, we'll keep it going. Good night. Thank you very much. I will tell Lisa that you guys miss her, Max. We really, really miss her. This is the best way to get the news. This is the best way to give the news. I love this every single day. It feels like you guys are just here in the studio with me. And let's see. I think that's it. All right. Asta. See you tomorrow.